Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for our Cybersecurity Credit Transfer Agreement Development Workshop. We're really excited to have everybody joining us today. We're going to be letting people come into the room and we will get started here shortly. So, as everybody's trickling in, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce everyone to the presenters that will be joining us today. So this is our task force presentation team. There are four of us from Purdue Northwest who will be guiding you through this process today and talking a little bit about the tips and tricks and resources that we found really helpful. So our first guest today is Katie Bowers. She is the coordinator of academics and accreditation here at Purdue Northwest in our Office of Partnerships and Outreach. Katie has a lot of experience in this field, and she has been a great resource to us as we've developed our K12 credit transfer agreements. And so we are excited to have her joining us today. And we also have her colleague, Rachel Myers, who we've also worked with here at Purdue Northwest. Rachel is a coordinator of students and school partnerships. And again, both Katie and Rachel have worked with teachers and administrators in our area high schools. We have a number of counties that we serve, and these two have been really, really helpful. They are experts in establishing these MOUs and working with faculty and staff to offer dual credit to our local high school students. So we're super excited to have both of them joining us today. And then we also have my colleague, Mike Spalchero, who is here today. He works in the Center for Cybersecurity at Purdue Northwest as an academic engagement specialist. Mike is a former middle school teacher and a veteran, and he is here to help lead our credit transfer agreement projects. So excited to have these three joining us today. My name is Amber Schuler. I am also part of the Center for Cybersecurity at Purdue Northwest. I am an academic advisor and outreach specialist. Like Mike, I'm also a former teacher. I've worked in higher ed as an academic advisor for the last 15 years and really excited to help people develop their credit transfer agreements. So that is our team today that will be presenting, and we would be remiss not to mention our PI, Dr. Michael Tu. Dr. Tu is also overseeing these credit transfer agreement projects. This project is funded by the Careers Preparation National Center. Dr. Tu has led multiple grant projects. He's helped develop curriculum, he's developed educational games and a number of resources for our K-12 teachers. And hopefully I didn't miss anything there. So that is our team presenting today. And you might be wondering why should we be developing a K-12 cybersecurity credit transfer agreement? And there's three actual reports that I wanted to highlight today. The first one being that the White House Office of the National Cyber Director has a new K-12 initiative. And you may have seen those emails coming through from Lynn Clark and from Sharon Hamilton trying to collect that information, trying to collect those credit transfer agreements, and ultimately they're trying to compile this concurrent credit transfer, all these things to give to this White House report and hopefully be a national model moving forward. So it's definitely something on the radar as far as with the White House is asking for these things. Something else that we've noticed was that there's definitely a workforce needs versus talent pool gap. And some of you may have read that early college cybersecurity credit report, also known as the EC3 report that Melissa Dark and her team have put out. And basically it highlighted that the US has a high need for workers with college education in cybersecurity, but there is this gap where college enrollment and graduation rates are low. So we're finding that the talent pool isn't matching up with the what workforce is going to be needing. And a strategy that Melissa and her team had identified was early college credit in cybersecurity could expand this quality and the quantity of this high school pool, ultimately pursuing those secondary degrees in cybersecurity, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year degree. And then the last one, that number 3, is at exposure gap. And some of you may have read the 2024 State of the Future U.S. Workforce Report, where they had highlighted that there's currently a 75% exposure gap for students in computer and technology. And they specifically looked at student aptitude in the field versus student interest in the field. The report also predicted the same as the EC3 report, that there's going to be a high demand for workers in this area, but a high talent shortfall. This report specifically noted that there's a lack of exposure and insufficient representation for students in underrepresented groups in computers and technology. The report also highlighted a solution similar again to that EC3 report of a personalized pathway and course offerings in the high school. And ultimately leading to that post-secondary education and training in the IT field. So 3 very important reports out there highlighting the development of CTAs and why they're gonna be important, why they're looking at it, and proposing it as a solution, and then that leads to our task force. So we currently have a grant to help develop these credit transfer agreements, specifically cybersecurity credit transfer agreements. Some of the reasons why you might want to pursue this task right now, aside from those reports, highlighting it on the horizon, is that these credit transfer agreements will hopefully lead to recruitment and collaboration with these CAE schools and their local K12 high schools. And this should ultimately, have the students pursuing hopefully the degree program at your institution. But with this task force team, you're going to have resources and support available to you to help guide you along the process. And if you're a CAE school and you develop a new K12 cybersecurity credit transfer agreement during this academic year, you can qualify for $1,000 stipend through the grant. And some of our past, we had a few people complete their CTAs in the last academic year, and they were able to use that money to help support teacher credentialing, sending a teacher to a summer workshop just to get those additional hands-on skills and get them up to speed to be able to teach that course this summer. So, or in the academic year, sorry. So these are some of the reasons why you should be considering developing a credit transfer agreement. And I am going to pass it over to my colleague Mike. He is going to be talking more about what what the team can offer and to help you develop that agreement.
Thank you, Amber. Please remember that creating a credit transfer agreement takes time and requires ongoing commitment. Building a strong partnership with K-12 schools can benefit everyone involved by enhancing students' education and fostering a positive relationship between institutions. It's important to understand that developing a successful credit transfer agreement requires patience, teamwork, and a dedication to offering high-quality education to secondary school students. By following these guidelines, you can establish a strong partnership that benefits both your institution and the K-12 schools you work with. For those schools that establish a new CTA, we can offer other support, such as identifying resources in a curriculum, teacher training, and other resources. We're able to help customize the curriculum modules to fit K-12 teacher needs. We're able to provide support for lab development, and we're also able to provide lab hosting environment NDG for free for those schools that don't have access to it. And finally, we're able to help with teacher credentialing programs. So if you need help getting started, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the process. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Katie.
All right. So once again, my name is Katie Bowers. My title is Coordinator of Academics and Accreditation. I'm going to be talking just a little bit about some of the more kind of background pieces of creating a credit transfer agreement. And then Rachel will be talking a little bit more of some of that student partnership facing pieces. The stuff I'm going to be going over in the next few slides is going to roughly look like the image you're seeing, but all of the steps I'm going to cover can be done really in any order. So it's not necessarily linear, not one thing doesn't always come before the next, but these are all the steps that must be completed in order to have that credit transfer agreement at the end. So obviously developing the course, understanding the credit transfer requirements, researching and identifying potential schools, contacting school administration, discussing and negotiating agreement terms, and then implementing the program and monitoring the progress. Again, this is not necessarily in order, though they can be done in a different order. As you'll hear about when Rachel speaks in a minute, there may be potential schools you already have in mind, right? In which case step 3 has already been taken care of. So we'll talk a little bit about the pieces of each one, but the order in which they come is not necessarily set in stone. So the first piece, or at least one of the pieces that must be done early on, is creating or identify the curriculum. If you already have a course or courses that you know make sense to be offered in a high school or as an early college kind of model, that's great. They can be existing classes at your institution. But it may be that what the schools are offering or what the schools you want to partner with need don't directly match a course you already have. So this is where you may end up creating a course or putting together kind of pieces of existing courses to help fit that school's need. So if you don't already have one in mind, that's fine. This is where you can kind of use that opportunity to build a curriculum so that it really meets the school, the partner school's needs. The easiest is obviously though, if you already have an intro level course that you're offering that would really help get students interested and also help fulfill some of those high school requirements, that's going to be the easiest. You already have something that exists. Oftentimes partner schools appreciate that because you're able to come to them and say, here's what the course looks like and here's your curriculum, and it makes it a lot easier. But as we'll talk about in a little bit, a lot of this is negotiable. And so sometimes that partnership is going to show you that that's not exactly, your 100 level course isn't exactly what they need at the high school. And so we'll talk a little bit about kind of some of those negotiation and give and take pieces that you'll have. But I will say in our work with schools, sometimes if you just come to them and say, here's a syllabus and here's what you need to assess, they're like, awesome, thank you so much. It makes it a lot easier for them because they're not starting from scratch. But if you don't already have a curriculum, sometimes we've had meetings with high school teachers who are like, here's what I'm teaching right now. And then they work with a P&W faculty member like Dr. Chu to say, okay, here's where this kind of aligns. Here's where we might need to make some changes. And that's also where resources like the Ring curriculum and pieces like that come into play as well, because again, it's not necessarily a cut and dry. Everyone should be offering the exact same course at every institution, at every high school, right? It really is dependent on your university and your state's needs, which is why I asked earlier if you could keep letting us know where you're from, because some states are very prescriptive. We're in Indiana where there is a very set pathway, high school pathway and career and technical education. And I know there's a lot of states that are very similar, but there's a lot of states where it's not. So again, working within your own state requirements and your university's requirements is going to be really important when you're creating that curriculum.
All right, that's me. So first and foremost, when you want to research and identify potential schools, I say first and foremost, start with your own university or college to see if you already have a concurrent enrollment dual credit office there. That would be because they already have those schools for you. Reach out to them. Why reinvent the wheel if you already have something in place? So definitely find out, if you don't know, if you do already have an office. Because if so, like we at Purdue Northwest, we have 25 plus schools. And so we love, like when our faculty come to us and say, hey, can we go into the schools with you to meet? Because we do these jumpstart presentations. We're like, yeah. And that's where then this conversation gets started. If you do not have a concurrent enrollment office, dual credit office at your university, then it's really, you can start, and I'm sure you guys know this, but you can start researching by looking at local schools, high schools websites, and all the high schools will have like a guidance tab and their course curriculum, their course guide. From there, you can see, do they offer cybersecurity classes, computer science, something like that, that maybe you're like, okay, let's set up a meeting. Let's see if we could work together. And it's things like that. I think things will just start falling into your lap. We were at one of our high schools just last week, and she's a brand new teacher, and we started talking, and then her and Katie then.
She's not even a cybersecurity teacher, she's a math teacher, but she oversees their computer science club. She does a lot of stuff with coding, just as like her extra fun gig that she does with the students. And all of a sudden, just in that conversation about her teaching a math course, it was like, oh my gosh, so I can get you connected with so-and-so to be able to do these things, to be able to offer these opportunities. So be aware that the exact names and titles might not necessarily match when you're identifying schools. And to Rachel's point, and this is why you might have seen us chatting as we saw names coming through, Our office is not called a dual credit office. We're the Office of Partnerships and Outreach. You wouldn't necessarily know that we do concurrent enrollment in our office. And I saw Ivy Tech come through. I think they're dual credits under their K14 initiatives office. So it might take a little bit of digging to determine if you even have someone in your institution who's already doing these things. So just know that even on the university side, the names and titles aren't always the same, and the same might be true for your high school partners.
Right. All right. And so then contact the schools. Like I said, I already mentioned, finding out first and foremost if you have an office of some sort at your university. And if not, just start emailing and calling, win them over with your charm and why you're, even contemplating this. The more communication is better, obviously. And things won't happen right away, but with multiple meetings, like I see names on here that I know we've talked with these people already, but the more and more you talk and you align the high schools and the college on the same, so that you're all on the same page, things will really start to happen then. Now this is we've got, just by doing this, we've got 2 schools already who are doing cybersecurity classes with us, and we had 0 last year, right? And I see some of you in the comments, you're already working on a lot of agreements with high schools, which is great. So I hope you can keep building on what you have implemented already. And that's about it for me.
So I already alluded to this earlier, but really starting to get a handle of what your institution and the partner school and the state requirements are is going to be super helpful. So things like I mentioned in Indiana, they have the next level programs of study that if a student in high school is doing a career technical education pathway, which is a specific diploma in the state of Indiana, that they really have more opportunities to align these curriculums. So again, that's just a diploma requirement in Indiana. So every state's going to be different as well. So be thinking about who should you be requesting that information from? Is there people, again, at your institution, like Rachel and I, or someone in admissions who might have a handle on those requirements? When you're talking to the schools, don't be surprised if they say, well, we'd love to partner, but we have these things we have to consider. That's what came up when we were looking at those 2 partners we've added, which is they really wanted to partner with us, but there were tuition issues with offering dual credit with us because of the way it's structured in our state. So things like that might come up in your conversation that you may not have been aware of. So as much of that as you can kind of learn ahead of time is going to be helpful. Really understanding where there's similarities and where there are differences. So if it's a course the high school is already offering and you want to try to align it with one of yours, where can you really work with what the existing similarities are? Because it might not be a one-to-one match. It might be close, but again, that's where I already mentioned you might have to have meetings in between you and the teacher and the administration at the school to see what can we do. And then as Rachel already mentioned, identifying who else can help. A lot of institutions already have some sort of dual credit office. If your institution is NACEP accredited, which is the national accrediting body for concurrent enrollment, there's someone at your institution who has to do these things, who's already doing articulation agreements and recording them and has already gone through the legal process of getting those things vetted. So you do not have to do all those pieces yourself. But again, their titles might not look like what you think they should look like at the university. If someone saw my title as the coordinator of academics and accreditation, they're not going to know that this is what I do. So just be prepared to do a little bit of digging in that respect as well. The other thing I saw come through in the chat, and I'm really glad, Julia, that you mentioned this, is sometimes it might not be a major specific course. It might be a non-major course, but that would still really get those pre-college students interested in what you're doing. And that's where you have that opportunity to be a little bit flexible as well. So that strategy of thinking about what's that course that's going to get them engaged, it's going to help them get excited about cybersecurity, may not be a course that already exists as part of your major plan of study. So be thinking about that as well as you're really understanding what those requirements are that the school is trying to meet and what you're trying to meet as well. And then once you've found the school, you know what the classes you want to offer, you at least have an idea, you're going to be aligning that curriculum. I am keeping half an eye on the chat, and I love what I'm seeing because someone said they look for a 75% match, and I love that because again, it might not be a 100% match. The other thing though you have to consider in a high school is they might see students, they might have a lot more face-to-face time than you do on campus. I know at P&W, our class is generally a 3-credit-hour course, meets 2 times a week for an hour and a half, and sometimes in a school, they see those kids 5 times a week for an hour plus. So they're seeing those students. If the high school is offering it as a semester course or a year-long course, they're seeing them even more. So if you're looking at the curriculum and it doesn't meet exactly, be thinking about those things. Where can you be flexible? Where does that school offer, more opportunities to build stuff in that you just don't have time for on a college campus? And again, if they already have an existing course, working within that to make it a little bit easier on them, but making sure that your learning objectives, your key assessments, those pieces are fitting in. So the thing we always say, and that's why I love that I saw that 75% number come in there, is what's that percentage for you? Because it might be different depending on what your needs are, what your goals are in developing this course. Again, if it's a concurrent enrollment course and you're a NACEP accredited institution, making sure that it fits with what the NACEP accreditation means. But you do have some flexibility because generally speaking in a high school, they're going to see the students a lot more than what you might see on campus. On the flip side, if it's a course that has lab components or resources that high school might not offer, be thinking about that as well. So where might you be able to partner with them and create opportunities for those students to come to campus and take advantage of resources that you have and getting those students to your physical spaces? Can they offer the course if they don't have those, lab pieces? Going back to those state requirements, cybersecurity, a lot of the schools have very specific cybersecurity just lockdowns on their computers and IP addresses. And I know one of our schools, they have 2 of our IP addresses clear for students to do stuff, but the third one isn't. We have 3 IP addresses, so every third computer doesn't work when we're there. So be thinking about those things as well, because those are obviously issues you'll be contending with when those courses get implemented. And then lastly, just to kind of bring it all together, when possible, meet with the whole team. So be thinking about who all is going to be a part of this. So arrange that meeting so that all the voices are at the table. Make sure that whoever is the expert on the actual course content, if it's you or someone else, make sure that person is there. Make sure the teacher is there. Any school counselors should also be involved, just because they're going to be the ones who are helping advise students as to whether they should take that course or not. And address those issues up front. Don't wait to get the class running and find out that, oh, yeah, but turns out you don't have the resources available, or they're blocked at your school and now you're behind because you weren't able to get those things done. And be open. Again, there is some give and take required as part of this, just because again, the school you're partnering with might be able to have more or less face time with the students. They might need to do certain things that they have to do for their state reporting requirements. And so there may be pieces in there that you're like, well, we would do that on campus, but they have to. So just be thinking about that as well, that there is some give and take a little bit, be open to that. But obviously, again, if you have accreditation specific things for your programs as well, make sure you're attending to those. So it should be a little bit of negotiation, but you don't have to, give everything away either.
Okay, and then the next thing is the legal review and documentation. And this is really about action items for deans, principals, and other administrators. So of course, we're talking about state-specific laws and regulations, institutional policies. However, there are potential challenges, such as institutional changes. So if you have a dean right now or a principal who is very much into this idea of credit transfer, what will happen if somehow suddenly one of those administrators will suddenly change? And they're no longer going to support this effort, right? So this is something that you might want to consider. Other ethical considerations would be student welfare. If you're going to be dealing with K12 students, you have to remember that they are not college students, they are high school students. So their needs are going to be different than the needs of a traditional college student. And then we're also going to be then we also need to remember to monitor and evaluate. So you want to make sure that you have regular reviews that you conduct to assess its effectiveness and look for areas of improvement. This could be using data to track the outcomes of credit transfer agreements and to see where your trends are. Are you getting more students coming from one area or another? And how can you open up to schools that are maybe more rural than, such as PNW and the area that we service rather. And then make sure that you have feedback mechanisms established for gathering feedback from students, faculty, staff, the teachers, and the high schools that you are working with. And then finally, you want to sign, obviously you want to sign your agreement. And again, these are K12 students, so they have different concerns, different rights than university students. Remember, how are you going to think about how you are going to handle things such as students withdrawing from classes or not being able to transfer their credits or again, institutional changes. How will this be affected by changes in the curriculum or policies of either institution? And the agreement involves dual enrollment programs, ensure compliance with your state guidelines and whatever your university or accrediting body has. So after this, you are going to launch the program, and again, regular monitoring and continuous improvement. So this is going to be about course offerings. You're going to start offering the course outline in your agreement, and you want to start collecting data on student enrollment, course completion rates, and academic and performance. You want to collect feedback from students, teachers, and administrators to assess the program's effectiveness. Again, I've mentioned that. And analyze your data and make adjustments to your program. So if you see things are not working the way that you intended, or the way that the teacher in the high school is finding problems, make sure that you are making necessary adjustments to the program, such as modifying course content or adjusting other parameters in the course. And make sure that you have enough student support services and faculty training.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, like Katie and Michael and I, we can kind of jump in on that. But we
Sure.
found with our new agreement that we developed this year that even just doing that quick outreach during the first couple weeks and just checking in with our teacher to see how things were going, and he was like, and they were quick to say like, yes, things are going good. You know, just doing little outreach like that. It doesn't have to be real formal or anything. So just throwing that out there.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
One other thing, sorry, as long as we're jumping in on this one a little bit, is be thinking about when you're monitoring it, you're gathering that feedback, is what other ways can you engage the students? One thing we do is jump starts, and so I'll let Rachel talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, one thing that we do, and this is why our faculty want to go in with us a lot now in honors college, et cetera, is when we go in, we finally have the MOU signed and we have these kids registered. We have what we call our P&W Jumpstart. We go in and we help them activate their accounts. We bring with them their username, their password, all that good stuff. And then we do go through with them the do's and don'ts of concurrent enrollment, dual credit, that they're an actual Purdue student, and all the resources, all the things they can take advantage of, the libraries, the online resources, the discounts, things like that. But then we also talk about the consequences, about academic notice and probation. But in that, so many kids have come to us and decided to come to us afterwards because, like, I remember you coming into our high school my sophomore year, junior year, senior year. So that's something to just consider too when you're thinking about, do I want to do this? And if your goal is to recruit and really build in your program, and you guys all know, building those relationships young and when early really can help as well. And we are seeing that. We're seeing the benefits from that now.
So outside of just that course curriculum piece, be thinking about that. And that's where I mentioned earlier as well, that math teacher, she's not even a cybersecurity teacher, but she's a math teacher, but she does other roles at her high school and wants to get involved, even if it's not in the terms of a course, right? So as part of this, just be thinking about that. What other ways might you work to engage those students and engage that school? Because that's only going to strengthen that partnership and build opportunities for more courses or more opportunities down the road.
Sorry, Mike, I think we took some of the stuff from your next slide. So
That's okay.
we're segueing for you.
Right. And to jump off that, this is about open communication. So you want to make sure that you have communication that is two-way, not just one way, where you're telling the teachers what they need to do. These teachers are professionals. They are masters at pedagogy, as Rachel and Katie have said in past meetings. They are masters of pedagogy. They know how to deliver information in a way that is easily understood by most students. All right. So this having open communication will also allow you to address challenges and promptly and collaboratively. That's the key, collaboratively. And it will also allow you to explore opportunities for further collaboration in the future. This could mean regular meetings, feedback mechanisms between the teachers and the students, and of course, exploring further collaborative projects. So you might be starting off with an intro to cybersecurity course, and now once the students have that and they have a taste for it, they might want to do the next level coursework. right? So something that might help with this is NACEP accreditation. So if your school is NACEP, I'm throwing that in there for Katie and Rachel. I want to make sure that we're talking about NACEP because they can help you with your credit transfer programs, and it is a mark of uh, high quality transfer program. So if you are a member of NACEP, if your school is already NACEP accredited, that's great. If not, consider pushing your institution to do that. Other considerations is cultural competency within the university to understand that there is a difference between K-12 schools and higher education institutions. So it's not just the students, it's also the teachers. The teachers are professional, they will work with you. They are interested in seeing their students succeed just as much as you are. And that's what we're all here for, is to help the students succeed in the future, in not just in academia, but also in the their chosen career field, which is hopefully going to be cybersecurity for us, right?
All right. So this is I like this map. It's kind of fun. So we wanted a visual representation. Rachel is our visual person, and she asked for a map. So as of right now, we have 4 schools. Those green dots are the 4 schools who had completed new cybersecurity credit transfer agreements, and they did that in our last year with our grant. So we have Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois, obviously Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana, College of Eastern Idaho and Idaho Falls, and Middle Georgia State U in Macon, Georgia. So those 4 green dots are people who successfully completed new CTAs. The yellow dots, there are 11 yellow dots. Those are schools who had attempted it last year and they just were like, I just ran out of time, I ran out of steam, I ran out of support, whatever it was. But they're still really committed to creating that CTA, and they're going to dedicate this coming year to finishing out that credit transfer agreement. So those are our yellow dots. We don't have a ton of dots on our map, and we're really hoping that we can make this map more green and yellow going forward. So as hopefully as we have more of these workshops or more of these updates at the different conferences, we'll see more of that green and gold spread across the US. So for those Packer fans out there, you're going to be real excited about that. So yeah, so we're really excited about where we're going. And then I will let Mike give his plug for if you want a little in-person help.
Sure. So for your colleagues who were able to attend today, we will be at the National Cybersecurity Education Colloquium in St. Louis, and we'll be holding an in-person CTA workshop on October 8th from 1:30 to 2:15 in Majestic B and C. All right, so remember October 8th at 1:30. If you want to come in and say hello or tell us about how your program is going, how your CTA transfer, how your credit transfer agreement is working out, or if you have other questions or whatever it is that you want to come and either talk to me or yell at me about, sending you emails with my survey, please come out and see me on October 8th, 1:30.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And I saw Lynn Clark was able to join us. Lynn, do you happen to be available?
I'm here.
Hey, Lynn. So we were actually at the beginning of our presentation, we were talking about why it would be important to develop a K-12 cybersecurity credit transfer agreement. And we had cited the ONCD report. And I know you were helping to collect those CTA agreements for this report. And we were using that as encouragement as the White House is
Yeah.
citing this new initiative, and it's really important. I didn't know if you wanted to chime in on the importance of developing these cybersecurity CTAs as well.
Well, we believe that in order for us to make real lasting change in the landscape of cybersecurity workforce, we've got to reach kids early. And the more we can empower them early, not just in their learning, but in their understanding of cyber as a potential career choice. I think both of those are important. And, at the younger ages, just being aware of career options is probably a huge motivator for a lot of those kids. And then the second part of that is giving them enough of an experience at secondary education that they believe they can do college. Because there are so many kids out there that don't envision themselves as being able or have the resources to do that. And there are so many ways we can help kids today, if they need help getting into the next level. So, that's all important. And I see the ONCD interest in the White House truly understands that we can't just target one solution. We have to be looking for qualified people under every rock and in every corner, that we can find and nurture where there is interest and talent, to keep them going. So I'm using what you guys put together as the backbone of my report back to ONC about all of this. And someone from there, I think it's going to be Albert Palacios, but they've got a little bit of reorganization going on up there. One of them will be there at NCEC. So there's a good chance they'll stop in and want to talk to you guys during or after your workshop.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I know we put you on the spot, but when I saw your name pop up, I was like, oh, we were just talking about that at the beginning of that and the E3C report that was put
Yeah.
together. And we were citing all of these reports are leaning towards that cybersecurity
Oh, yeah.
credit transfer agreement development as really solving a lot of these issues that we're experiencing.
Well, I'm glad I could be here today. I'm not sure when we get to St. Louis that I'll be able to sit in on your live workshop. So I wanted to be sure and get to this one just in case.
Yes. Thank you
Indeed.
so much, Lynn. Thank you. And then, so that is all that Katie, Rachel, Michael, and I have as far as the workshop. So we're going to turn it over to you guys. I know there's been questions flying around in chat, and Katie and Rachel have been doing a good job of answering those. But I'm going to open it up. Like if anybody has any questions or if they run into any issues and need some brainstorming or anything like that.
Yeah, I know we've seen some familiar names. So if there's pieces that we've talked about before that you still have questions about, or something that you've encountered as you started working on this, and now you're like, I never knew this was going to come up, please let us know. We're happy to help make sure that this is going to be beneficial.
And I'm going to actually go back to my slide where I got my email address. So if you decide that you are interested, now that you heard the whole presentation, and you want to have you or your team move forward with developing this, or you're already in the process and you want to hop on for this $1,000 stipend, here's your chance. So send me that email again and let me know who's on your team, and we'll put you in the database, and I'll send you that worksheet.
Quick question. If
Yeah.
we have, so like we have, like we're a CTE program, so we have career and tech academies, and then we also have dual enrollment articulations, as well as some statewide stuff. How do we get put on that map if we can't participate in the agreements? I've sent my agreements or links to them anyway. Is that going to be updated, or how do we do that?
Dr. Tu, do you want to take that one, or?
Yeah, sorry, I was just
Okay. So our map is just for the CTA development with our grant. So not reflective of overall CTAs. If you have those and you've emailed those to Mike already, and Mike was collecting that database, the large database. So that our map is purely reflective of this task.
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
just for this task, we do have another kind of like big database about the state level CTAs, right?
Yeah.
Many states. So they, at the state level, they may have like dual credit, right, between the K12 schools and the community colleges, right, or even 4-year programs.
But if you have, Jeremy, if you have like a brand new school or a school that's never had a cybersecurity course that would happen to pop up now, we could throw you on the map for that.
Yeah, I'm
Hi.
working on a couple that have that, so I'll be reaching out.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a question. Can you all hear me?
absolutely. Yes, go ahead, Bill.
So we have dual enrollment here at Marsh University, but we don't, and we have a class. It's CFS 200, which is Introduction to Cyber Forensics and Security, and that's been very popular. And I'm not sure that any of that information was sent up to you all to get on the map. It'd be nice to be on the map. And I'm wondering also what we're missing. And I asked them to interact with you all last year, and I'm not sure that it happened. So what should I do? I will be in St. Louis, so I will try to get to the development workshop. But I'm just wondering if we've checked all of our T's and dotted all of our I's.
I just checked my database and I do not have anything from your school.
Okay.
But Jeremy, I did get yours. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a different map, right? This
Yeah.
map is our new CTA development. And we do have a map of those 78 schools, right? 78 CAE institutions that have K12 CTAs claim to be cybersecurity, right? Or maybe
So
most.
where do I send this information? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right. I will send you a link
Awesome.
after this meeting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
To
problem. Thank
everybody,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a Qualtrics form that you can just throw all that in there. Might cut that up. Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you. That's a really good question. Yeah, so we've got a lot of different CTA tasks going on, and it's so easy to get them confused. But we're excited that everybody's thinking CTA and wanting to share about their credit transfer agreements. If we can just collect as much data as we can, so that as Lynn needs these reports, or different agencies are asking these questions, we've got this ready-made database with all this information in it. So, any other questions? Anything on, here's your chance, pick Katie and Rachel's brains.
One thing I'll say again, I know I already kind of said this, but a lot of this seems daunting if you've never done this before. But again, this is where if there is a chance that someone at your institution is already doing this, even if it's not a dual credit office, for example, another part of our job is working with our School of Education and Counseling on student placements and licensing. And we do articulation agreements and MOUs with them as well. So even if it's not necessarily specific to dual credit, someone at your institution has done some of this outreach to partner schools and has done this work in creating contracts. So you're not necessarily starting from square one. I guarantee someone there has done something that at least helped build a partnership or done this contract work. So don't be afraid to reach out to those folks. That's how we got involved in this, was just conversation about what we do and how might we be able to do this together. So don't feel like this is overwhelming. And a lot of it, again, it's just having conversations with folks. So reach out, see who's already in this space, and then work with them.
And I love that you're all visual like I am and that you like the map.
Let's fill it up.
Yeah.
So quick
Yeah,
question
and
for
like
you.
this process, or having gone through it ourselves, like it was not a speedy process. There was a lot of emails back and forth. Katie did a lot of outreach to the state. We had multiple meetings with our high schools and the teachers themselves. So just I don't want people to feel like they aren't making progress if they're just going meeting after meeting after meeting. Like that's normal. That's normal.
I saw a question come through from Eva. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, about CTAs with individual schools or districts. I'd love to see in the chat if anyone has any other specific feedback about this. We do both. We do MOUs with the entire district. So for example, one of our local districts has multiple high schools. So we do the MOU with the whole district, which is our memorandum of understanding. It's the overarching document that just guides our partnership. But the actual articulation agreements are specific to the school and the teacher. So that's how we approach it here. That doesn't mean it's the only way, but that's what we do. So if anyone else wants to share what they do, that's great. But that is how we approach it.
Good question, Denise.
Do you happen to know of, and I know that this may not be the most popular question, but sometimes there are schools that are interested in giving opportunities to their students that are beyond just a single articulation. Do you happen to have schools that you've already worked with that would be interested in working with other schools? We don't all slice and dice cyber the same way. We don't all offer the same pathways into the discipline or cover the same kinds of content or have the same level of hands-on versus theory. Would there be an opportunity to identify with the folks that have already been worked with, if they'd be interested in working with another school, to maybe help to get that synergy off of the process that they already created, and maybe have those other articulations, because there are schools that are willing to do that with them?
I could see Katie's gritting over there, but
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And honestly, I wish I had a really clear-cut answer. We're so new in this space that I'm honestly not sure the best way to go about approaching that or building those connections. I will say it's something that we've tried to do more of. But so far it's really just been kind of the one-on-one schools, because that's what we're kind of able to do in our capacity.
a good question. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there
Oh,
aren't,
can I say one more really quick thing? And
Yeah.
I know, again, to kind of go back to Denise's question as well, because this is tricky. And like you said, it's not all cut and dry. It's not, no one approaches it the same way. I was fortunate enough to go to a different conference on this last spring where I really heard from folks across the country on all the different ways this is being approached. So one thing you could think about is that if it's not that easy to align a specific course, and I know this makes us probably sound like a broken record, but what other ways are there to engage in the meantime? So again, look for those clubs or organizations, look for, bringing students to campus for a, kind of a field trip and exposing them to different things. If it's not so easy to align a course, there might still be ways you can still work with them and connect with the students in the meantime as you're kind of building that process. And then Ava, I apologize again. So this is a really interesting, just procedural question. So in terms of parent involvement, because it's offered with us as a dual credit course, the students are actually seen as Purdue students. So as Rachel mentioned, so they get admitted to the university, they get registered for a course, they build a transcript, which means they're also FERPA. They're bound by FERPA regulations as well. So that is something that, and I'll maybe let Rachel talk a little bit more about the specifics, but that is a really interesting question.
Yes, however, we have learned, because you heard me mention our jump starts. We go in and we have the kids activate their accounts and they get into the student portal. Now, then when we get into the bills and payments tab, we can always add an authorized user. So that's where we have them add their parent. And then we have the email and text parent right then, and we let them call us the P&W ladies. And that's where then the parents, because we do get the parents' email as well when they sign up. So we do send things out, but the specific, like how much they owe, what their grades are, all that kind of stuff, that of course is the FERPA stuff that we can't tell. But the parents do get that email, and we do have the students give them proxy access.
The piece that we can't really regulate well, and this is why we do try to work so closely with our partners, is what information are those schools putting out to the families? Because we have discovered that this is like speaking, everything we've talked about today is a lot. Adding the parent piece is a whole different beast, because parents just literally, like, it's hard for them to even understand just the basics of what's a dual credit versus what's an AP, right? Like, what opportunities are even available to their students? Whenever we do parent presentations, parents are following us to our cars.
We
and
can't
that's,
get out.
That's not a joke. We had one parent follow us to our car. She had so many questions because the parents really don't know. So that is, as you're having conversations with your schools, have that conversation. How are parents being notified? Because I personally believe if parents understood more, they would be actively pushing their students, especially towards opportunities like cybersecurity. If they really understood the long-term implications of pursuing this pathway, getting into college for this, getting out into the field in this, they're really going to be excited about this opportunity, but the parents often don't know. So ask your school partners that question when you're having those conversations. How are you notifying the families of this opportunity, and what does that actually mean? Because we can't control that because of the way we've been set up as a dual credit institution, but I think it's really important for you to be thinking about that when you're talking to those schools.
Katie, Rachel, did you guys see the question about the grade school outreach? Do you have any suggestions or ways that you've done some grade school outreach?
We have not. However, when you research the different offices in your college, we have like at P&W, we have Christina Maldonado, who is the community engagement within the Office of Admissions. So she does go out into the elementary schools, and it's been great because we have this relationship with her, how we can say, here you go. Can you promote this? Just like departments come to us promoting their summer camps, their workshops, things like that. We then promote anything to the grade schools with Christina. So again, research which offices, there are at your university, and someone is going out into the elementary schools already. I can guarantee you that. I don't know who, but I can guarantee you they are.
So there's somebody on your campus, so just try and partner up if they're already going.
Yeah,
Okay.
everyone knows, again, we've already talked about it, how it's so important to build these relationships early. So, now with the little kindergartners getting P&W, Leo the Lion coloring sheets and things like that. So that's what's being done right now. But yeah, think about cybersecurity coloring
Clubs.
sheets, gloves, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
And I would are going to say, I feel like I've read this before, but don't quote me on exactly where, that because of the way high schools are getting so focused on that career development, especially in Indiana, that sometimes you really do need to start thinking about hitting the middle school and grade schools, because by the time they've hit high school, they've often made their mind up. So I think that's a really great point to put in there. And again, be thinking about that, because once you get that partnership with a district, you can just keep building that.
Good point. Good point. Awesome. All right. Any other up here? Yep. Oh, thanks, Katie. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're coming on the hour mark. So we've talked your ear off for a long time, but hopefully this helps to get you excited and motivated and interested in developing a cybersecurity K12 CTA. So thank you everybody again for taking time out of your Monday to join us, and hopefully we've given you some good ideas, and reach out, if you're interested, please send me that email. Dr. Tu, any closing remarks?
I just wanted to say thank you. I think you guys are doing a great job. This is really exciting, and we'll see. I'm going to keep watching it evolve. So thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank
support,
you.
Lynn.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Amber. Yeah, I think I think you guys have talked a lot about this, and it's great. We have so much interest, and I hope all the CEs, right, they are interested in doing this, and then many of you will attend our workshop at St. Louis, right, NCEC. And if you have interest, just send it to email to Amber, right?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday.